We're here today to share with you the second session in Empira's Stay Well series. And this session is about confronting some of the what ifs during the COVID-19 crisis. My name is Kelly Klund, and I am a resource nurse with Empira. I wanted to start out by just saying thank you to everyone for being here. We really know that when we started talking about providing this session in this series, we would be dealing with confronting some of the what ifs of COVID, and that's taking up a lot of people's time and resource and energy. And since we started planning this session, all of the things that have happened in the world have added on top of COVID. So the fact that you're here giving us your time and learning with us today is a really precious gift that you're giving to us. And I just want to acknowledge and give you each a thank you for just sharing some of your time and being curious about what it is that we have to share today. The objectives for what we'll do today, we're going to talk about the 7 domains of work of aging in Empira's ResoLute grant and how they relate to our what ifs from COVID-19. We're also going to explore the role each of those domains play in our own lives, and then develop a strategy to use work of aging to address some of your personal what ifs. So who is Empira? Just in case you don't know, I want to just give you a quick, really brief overview of who we are and what it is that we do. We are a group that comes together to do, we're a non-profit collaborative quality improvement organization. Our members consists of St. Therese Presbyterian Homes, Cassia, and Volunteers of America. And what we do is we come together to look at aging services problems and inspire some innovative solutions. A lot of those solutions challenge the status quo that we've always been up against in some of our healthcare institutions. And then when we have good solutions or we have good things to share, we like to inspire others to learn from us. And so we share the work that we have both nationally and here in Minnesota. So this is part of that sharing. And again, thanks for being here with us. I want to start by just saying, okay, people, here we are and we're all in this together, right? So Zoom meetings were new for me and new for Empira to learn how to share some of our stuff through Zoom and not in person. So I want to share with you my personal Zoom hack. If you were here with me in my office, you would see that my computer screen is up on my cookie sheet. Not my cookie sheet, but my cookie drying rack, because it's better to bring your computer up high instead of looking down like this at your computer. So that's just a little tidbit of wisdom that you didn't know you were going to get. If you have trouble lifting your computer up on a Zoom meeting, you've probably got some tools or utensils in your kitchen that might help. So let's jump into what is work of aging and how does it help us with the what ifs of COVID-19. So work of aging is a term that was coined through our ResoLute grant, and work of aging is actionable. Work of aging begins when we start to reflect on the meaning of our life and confront our mortality. And it's used to describe the conversation or actions that move us towards wisdom in really recognizing the things that matter most to us. It's a verb. It's an action word. So it's not a passive concept, but it's what do we do to confront our mortality and really decide and help us kind of sift through all the things in our life and really learn about and put action around what matters most to us. And with COVID-19, all of those what ifs are probably folded into us being on a work of aging journey. Our work primarily comes out of nursing homes. So when we started this work, we thought we were putting together a program to help people in long-term care address their work of aging. But really quickly on this journey, we learned that we were talking about residents, we're talking about families, we're talking about staffs, we're talking about our interdisciplinary teams. And most importantly, and most relevant to what we'd be talking about today, is that we really learned that we were also talking about ourselves. When we talk about work of aging, we are all on a work of aging journey. All of us at different points in that journey, but work of aging is relevant to all of us. So let's jump into how work of aging is relevant to COVID. So what are some of the what ifs with COVID? They're all individual. We all have our individual what ifs, but some of the big ones that we know the majority of us probably confront is, what if I get COVID-19? Will my family be okay, right? Will the doctor know what's really important to me in my healthcare? And do the people in my life really know how much they mean to me? And here's the big one, right? Here's the big one that we all fear. Here's the what if for all of us. What if I get COVID-19? I could die, right? That's the scary part of this. But ultimately, if we confront our mortality, if we just bravely look at mortality and say, yes, yep, we could all die for a myriad of reasons, one of which may be COVID-19, then our personal what ifs will be addressed. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend some time today just talking about confronting our own mortality through work of aging. So the work of aging has 7 domains that we really have figured out through doing this work that people's what ifs kind of bucket into. So we all have a life story, and the what ifs there tie to what role does life story play in who you are today. Condition, this started out being truthful prognostication, but that was really a big word that when we said it to people, kind of were like, what are you talking about? So really your condition, how does your health condition affect your quality of life? What role does that play? Your purpose, do we know why we wake up in the morning, right? Relationships, do we have relationships in our life that we want to honor or that we need to reconcile that really tie back into some of our big what if fears? Spirituality, do we feel connected to something bigger than ourselves? And ultimately, end of life, right? Have we prepared for the end of our life? Any of us could walk out the door and not come home on any given day, right? And then legacy. So what do we want others to think when they hear our name? So personal work of aging exploration, though, is a little bit more, is a lot actually more granular than those domains. The domains are the umbrellas, but really where the rubber hits the road is in exploring a few really deep questions within ourselves. So the first one, how does my life have meaning? What matters most to me? How do I want to live the rest of my life? How long will I live? That's a rhetorical question. We can't answer it, but we've all asked it of ourselves. What happens when I die? How will I be remembered? And will my loved ones be okay when I'm gone? I've learned and explored that for me personally, all of my what ifs around COVID-19 or around the social unrest that's happening right now, or around whatever my personal fears may be, can be addressed through one of those questions or a combination of those questions. So let's start in talking about these domains a little bit. We've all got a life story, right? We all have a history that has led us to where we are today, right? Our life story helps us organize our experience. It gives us our own sense of self. And when we are brave enough to share our life story with people, it opens channels of communication. The big how there, so that's the what, but how do we do that, Kelly? How do we get in touch with our own life story? In the work that we've done, it comes down to a few different components that we call know the person. So the components of know the person are our identity, our social history, our non-negotiables, our comfort preference, and our greatest accomplishments. We're going to dive in there a little bit for a few minutes. Our personal identity is as simple as our I am statements. And no one has just one. All right, we're complex people, so our I am statements are usually pretty multifaceted. My personal I am statements, I am a nurse, I am a mother, I am really organized, I am a person who likes things predictable. If I look at my what ifs in the world or my what ifs specific to COVID, they would all be relevant, right? My I am story, my I am about needing things to be predictable, I would want to know what's the course of this illness going to look like for me because I need things to be predictable because of my identity. Your social history is where do you come from? Where do you come from? What is the package and the wrapper and the things that have led you to where you are right now? So it's the summary of our lifestyle practices, our family, our occupation. What do we like to do? For me, I was married and divorced and in a relationship with the man I married, right? So my social history would be a little complex and it would be relevant to my what ifs with COVID. What if my family didn't know who would be my decision maker if I couldn't speak for myself? My social history would have to be untangled there to answer that question. Comfort preferences. Our items or actions just are closely associated to a feeling of well-being for us. With any of our what ifs, if your what ifs are around COVID, or if your what ifs are around social unrest, or if your what ifs are around something that's really personal to you, knowing and identifying your comfort preferences and really practicing self-care, making sure that those comfort preferences are prevalent in your life, are a big part in being able to address your what ifs. Non-negotiables. So we all have things that are always or never for us. I can't see any of you there, so I don't know if any of you may have a similar what if to me, but as a curly haired person, my non-negotiable would be do not brush my hair, right? Because I'd end up with great big not curly hair. Whether I'm sick, whether I'm healthy, that wouldn't change for me. That would be a non-negotiable for me in healthcare and in life. My greatest accomplishments. So your greatest accomplishments are the building blocks that enable you to construct a sense of success, right? What have you done well in the past that you're really proud of that you can dip into and lean into to deal with some of your own personal what ifs or fears around COVID? I want everyone to take a second and get out a piece of paper and just explore for a few minutes. We're just going to spend about 2 or 3 minutes here, but if each of you kind of explored some of your own, know the person. So what are some things in your life story that would be really pertinent to helping you explore your what ifs? What about your own personal identity would be really pertinent to your own fears or what ifs? What about your lifestyle would be important for people to know? What are some non-negotiables that you would have that address your what ifs from COVID? And what are some of your greatest accomplishments that you could lean into to help you address your fears? So like I said, we'll take just a minute or two here to let you explore that. So the next domain area for us was condition. And really the driving question here is how do your physical conditions or your health conditions affect your quality of life? And how does that play into your what ifs? So when we first started exploring this work, we found that there were 2 really big barriers to answering that question about condition and quality of life. And the first one was that people wait for doctors to tell them what the impacts of quality of life are. But doctors wait for people to ask the question about the impact to their quality of life. And again, all that plays into whatever your personal what ifs could be. There's also some societal taboos and cultural differences and a fear of diminishing hope. We also have this misguided belief that if you've addressed your code status, you've done enough to talk about your physical conditions. I'll tell you a little personal story here. I am 50, and when I was 49, I struggled, well, I do struggle with high blood pressure, but I finally had to go to the doctor for it. When I was 49, I went to the doctor, and my doctor didn't know that I was struggling with turning 50. So really appropriately, according to what the standards of practice today are, my blood pressure was high. It was consistently high. She prescribed me a medication for my blood pressure. And that on paper is the right answer. But she didn't know my know the person, and she didn't know my I am statements and my own story that I tell myself about who I am. I didn't take that blood pressure medication, right? Because we didn't explore my work of aging around what it meant for me to be prescribed a medication. For me, being prescribed a medication meant I jumped that hump, right? I am no longer young and vibrant, but now I'm middle-aged and 50 and taking medications. So I didn't take it. So the on-paper answer to how to address my high blood pressure was appropriate on paper, but it wasn't a real answer for me. If we'd have jumped into exploring my I am statements and my know the person along with my conditions, we would have identified a big gap in understanding between the two of us about what was most important to me. Purpose. Multiple studies have shown that if you have a sense of purpose in your life, it promotes resilience to stress. And right now, that is really purpose, and knowing why we wake up is the difference between, do we wake up in fear because of the what ifs, or do we wake up with a purpose and the what ifs will have a role, not a guiding role. So I'm going to take it here, and we're going to do a quick little exercise where we can all explore our sense of purpose. Because just saying you need a sense of purpose is kind of a up here type of a statement. How do we get that granular, and how do we know why we wake up during the day? So there is just a really quick 5-minute TED Talk that I've summarized here that we'll go through as an exercise. So if we explore who you are, what do you do, or what do you feel qualified to teach someone else? Who do you do it for? What those people need, and how do people change as a result? You've done a really quick exercise to identify your purpose. So I'm going to walk through this, and then I'm going to give each of you a minute to walk through it. So my name is Kelly. Right? I educate people. So what do? I educate people. What do you do it for? I do it for all of us. I get just as much out of these trainings as I hope that you do being a participant in the trainings. What do I want those people to get, or what do the people need? I believe that they get, or they need, just some additional tools in their toolbox, another bit of knowledge, another bit of applicable information that they can apply to how they walk the world. And how do they change? Hopefully at the end of this training, you'd feel more empowered. So my purpose, my name is Kelly, and I empower people. So I want you to just, again, on that same piece of paper you wrote down, you know the person. I want you to explore this a little bit. And if anybody is willing or brave enough to share after they do the exercise, I would love to hear who you are and what you do. So who are you? What do you feel qualified to teach someone? Who do you do it for? What do those people want or need? And how do they change or transform as a result of what you give them?
Well, I think I'm a mom, and this is a personal, I don't work, but I think that I'm a mom, and I also I want to teach my kid about the Hmong culture, because it seems like they don't know the Hmong culture, and I really want them to preserve that in the 100 years that who they are, where they're from. And I hope in the future I can train them to understand how we do things the way we do compared to the Western.
Mm-hmm. So would it be accurate, Thao, to say you are Thao and you preserve culture?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
not
just myself, but not just myself, but I think for the Hmong kids.
So you are Thao and you preserve culture for a generation of children.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would guess that having that as your driving force takes away some of those what ifs, or at least helps you navigate some of those what ifs that you might have differently.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So relationships, in the work that we've done in our work of aging exploration, we've found that really relationships are one of the biggest domains where we can move a lot of work, where we can really, where people have made transformative change in their lives. So when we recognize the significance that that our relationships, either broken or whole, have in our life, mending or nurturing or honoring some of those relationships has been really transformative. Ira Byock has a book that we've leaned into pretty heavily for this work, and it really breaks down to some simple things. Being able or bravely willing to say I love you to the people that we love, saying thank you to the people that we're grateful for, saying forgive me to the people that we may have harmed, and forgiving the people that have harmed us. Really sheds away a lot of all that other stuff that can get in the way and get really mucky. And then spirituality. This is not religion. It can be religion, but spirituality is greater than religion. So in the world, do we connected to something bigger than ourselves? And we found that spirituality and purpose can tie really closely together. But spirituality links to our relationships, to our self-esteem, and really our outlook on life. And we explore this by just asking ourselves, what have we experienced that have either shaped or challenged our beliefs? And then who do we connect with? Do we have a support system in those beliefs? I know for me personally, a lot of my scary what ifs, I can find solace in those what ifs in my church community, in people that have a faith similar to mine. There's a lot of comfort there. So we may not be able to answer the what ifs, but at least we can find support. And then end of life. So mortality is part of being human. We will all die at one point, maybe COVID, likely something else, but we will all die. So if we address the fact that we all have an expiration date, that we all have an end to our time here on this earth, we'll live differently. Some of that living differently can be asking yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? And what do you need to hang on to? What's unacceptable to you? Atul Gawande, a book that we would recommend is Atul Gawande's Being Mortal, because he did some really great work here. Honoring Choices also has some great work here. And then having some frank discussions with the people we love about what would your end of life wishes be? And not only limited to, would you like CPR or would you not like CPR, but what are the things that are important for you to hang on to when your time comes? And then legacy. So to wrap it all up, we all will be remembered by some people, however we're remembered. And we're empowered to know that while we're alive, we have the ability to frame how people will remember us. So as long as we're here, we're in charge of that, that dichotomy of how will we be remembered versus how do we want to be remembered. And then also, what is it that you want to leave behind, right? So do you write letters to people that they'll have when you're not here anymore? Are there family recipes to share? Are there photo books? Do you want to write an autobiography? How are you sharing your wisdom and capturing your stories? So that is work of aging in a nutshell. And COVID-19 or the other social unrest that's happening in the world, or whatever we carry along with us that's not either of those situations, really has us all exploring our work of aging, whether we intended to or didn't intended to. We have all said, oh my gosh, what would happen if I die? Would my loved ones be okay? How would I be remembered? So the work of aging, remember back to these questions. How does my life have meaning, right? We've done a little bit of exploring that already, right? I am Kelly and I empower. What matters most to me, right? If we took our fears and balanced them with the question of what matters most to me, you'll develop a sense of direction. How do I want to live the rest of my life? How long will I live? What happens when I die? How will I be remembered? And will my loved ones be okay when I'm gone? Probably all tie into our own personal what ifs. So goal of work of aging is to have peace, hope, or acceptance, right? If we've got some unknown stuff, some unresolved stuff that we have floating around within ourselves, right? How do we bring a sense of peace that at least we've addressed those things, or have hope for change or acceptance for what we may not be able to change? One of the things that we've learned is if you change the way you look at things, you can change the way things look to you. You're empowered to do that. Some of the tools. So within our work, we've developed a couple tools to help with this work of aging journey, because it's really nice to talk about as a higher level concept, but where's the rubber hit the road? How do we start really exploring those questions, or how do we really explore our work of aging to tie that into addressing some of our own personal what ifs? So we've developed two tools. One is a reflection journal. So that's a journal to walk people through work of aging questions. It's got about 50 questions in there. Am I somewhere close, Adrienne?
Yeah, there's about 37 to 50 questions. Each journal's a little bit different. The one on the right has 37 questions. The one on the left has more, where you could actually do it with another person and write down each other's answers.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So if you think, oh my God, I really need to explore my work of aging, but I don't know how, or how would I start this, or what do I really do? Those 7 questions are great, but they don't really get me there. These journals actually help walk through the work of aging. But the journals, so we'll peek inside here a little bit just so you can see inside the reflection journal, has you do some internal work around what goals do you have? How could you meet those goals, right? How do you get actionable about meeting your goals? What gets in the way? What are the barriers or obstacles you need to deal with? Who's been the biggest influence? How have you impacted others, right? Now we're kind of looking into legacy and relationships. A peek inside the connection journal reconciles work of aging with the people that matter most in your world, right? So if you're on a work of aging journey and you've got loved ones that you want to bring on that journal along with you, how do you get people to understand your what matters most and how important that is in confronting your what ifs? But that's not the only way you can do work of aging. There's lots of ways you can do work of aging. Hello game is another way. It's a non-threatening, just question game that you can play with people that gets you exploring some of these work of aging type of questions. Hello game is copyrighted. It's made by a group called Common Practice, and we partnered with them not on the development of their game, but we partnered with them because we know that there's more than one way to do work of aging, and their game was a really good complement to our work. so that was just a really quick taste. Any of the work of aging tools, be it the reflection journal, the connection journal, the hello game, or any other ways that you can find to explore work of aging and attach some action to some of your own personal what ifs, aren't meant to be quick. Today we had a limited amount of time to get just our toes dipped in the pool of exploring work of aging. So if some of you may be thinking, oh gosh, we need more time to talk about that, you're right, you do. But for the sake of time and because we're here just for an hour today, we really don't get the luxury of going deep in exploration. But hopefully each one of you with personal reflection, either in conversation with your group or just reading the questions yourself on the screen and reflecting, have identified at least one piece of action you can take to move yourself towards peace, hope, and or acceptance with any of your answers. I know when we talked about confronting the what ifs of COVID-19, the what ifs that people have are so vast and so personal that we couldn't identify each one of everyone's what ifs and give you a strategy for personally addressing your own what if, but rather a bigger strategy for maybe not only addressing your what ifs, but really challenging yourself to say, do you step into your what ifs with bravery, or do you step away from your what ifs because you're fear-based? And COVID-19, is it the biggest threat in life? Maybe it is, depending on your life, your work, your own personal risks. But if we live in a place that is reactive to our what ifs, we live somewhat on edge and fear-based, and COVID-19 for the majority of us is just one of those threats, because all of us on an individual and personal level have so many what ifs that go so deep into ourselves. But if we're proactive in addressing our what ifs, if we look at what matters most, does our life have meaning? How long will I live? What happens when I die? Will my loved ones be okay? How will I be remembered? And most importantly, maybe for today, how do I want to live the rest of our lives? Those become the driving forces, and some of the what ifs we start to address just by answering those questions. So I want to wrap up by revisiting our objectives. So understand the 7 domains of work of aging. We've talked about life story, purpose, relationships, conditions, spirituality, end of life, and legacy, all from Empira's ResoLute program. We've spent a little time identifying the role in these domains in each of our own lives, and hopefully by exploring the role of each of these domains in your life, you were able to just develop a little bit of a strategy, or maybe a bigger strategy, but there's something actionable from today that you are inspired to go out and do that may help you address some of your what ifs. In education, we can tell you things, we can give you information, but hopefully we've inspired you to take action. How do you connect with Empira? If you want more information, you can follow our blog, you can watch our YouTube channel, you can follow us on Facebook, you can follow us on Instagram, you can go to our website, empira.org, or you can follow us on Twitter. And
Molly just put her hand up. So Molly, did you have something to add?
No, I just actually have a question about obtaining those books.
Sure, you can. So this is always, it makes me smile because I'm so happy when people want to use our tools. So you can go to the store on our website and get a copy of the journals. You can purchase the journals there. I personally don't really push that because it's a personal decision when and if you're ready to do that. And I wouldn't want anyone on this education today to get the impression that I'm here to sell you something. But if
they just look awesome.
Yeah, awesome. If that's a tool that anyone here is interested in seeing more about, you can go to the store on our website, and those tools are there for purchase. So thank you to everyone who joined here with us today. To receive your CEU, you'll have 2 competency questions to answer. So the work of aging begins when people start to reflect on their life and confront their own mortality. True. We're all on a work of aging journey. So the second question is true also. So to get your CEU, you'd go to empira.org online, just like you went to register for this webinar. You'd scroll down to the Stay Well series. You'd click into episode 2, Confronting the What Ifs, and then click, there's a spot that says click here for CEU post-test. The post-test will consist of those 2 questions, and then you enter your information and Empira will send you your CEU. So I think we've got a few minutes left, maybe just 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm happy to stay for if there's any discussion that people like to have. I'm not limited by time. If you are limited by time, we've finished with all of our content, and I thank you very much for being here and participating, whether you participated, verbally in your breakout rooms, or whether just you participated internally, kind of exploring some stuff on your own. So if anyone has any questions or discussion, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand or throw something in the chat box. And if you don't, thank you for being here.